will call the Caribou City Council October 14th meeting to order. First item on our agenda tonight is public input, and this is for anyone that wishes to speak about anything that's on our agenda or even things that aren't on the agenda. I'd ask anyone that wants to speak to come forward, give your name at the mic, and
good evening. Jamie Bell, 318 Grimes Mill Road. I was at the last regular City Council meeting on September 8th and submitted a petition on behalf of many concerned citizens in the area of the shooting range on the Grimes Road, asking the City Council to shut it down due to safety and noise issues. Since that time, none of the petition's safety or noise concerns have been improved, and even though the Council agreed that I brought up valid concerns, shooting has continued and actually has increased tremendously since that time. 2 days after the last council meeting, which would put it on September 10th, the warden service was visually verified as utilizing the range with constant gunfire being heard from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Some of the officers traveled as many as 200 miles to use the range. In addition to the warden service, Border Patrol was visually verified using the range on September 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 23rd, and 29th. Customs was verified using the range on October 9th, and today, October 14th, which was continuing as I drove in today after 6:30. And the Caribou Police was seen using it on October 2nd, which was the only time I saw them there. One other group was seen using the range on September 22nd, but the agency was not seen, so I can't comment on that. This is only a collection of those agencies and dates that were visually verified, and does not mean that others were not using it in this time frame as well. During the last meeting, a concerned council member brought up an issue with the discharge of a weapon at an angle that would miss the berm in behind the targets, and the city manager addressed that by explaining that they had run the trajectories and found it to be very unlikely that anything would happen due to the increase in elevation behind the range. After the meeting, I considered the idea that the elevation increase behind the range would help contain any bullets that went over the berm, and through USDA topographical map data and ballistic trajectory data of the bullets used at the range, which I verified with the city, I found that the elevation increase makes no difference. There's a 60-foot rise in elevation in behind the range once you get about 1,300 feet back behind it. But due to the angle needed to clear the berm, the additional rise would be cleared by the bullets with room to spare. I made sure to discuss my findings with the city manager last week and left the data and the graph depicting this with him to look at. The graph given to the city manager also shows that even if the shorter range 40 caliber Smith & Wesson bullets were to clear the berm at the minimum angle needed, the bullet may travel about 3,600 feet behind the range, which would land in my neighbor's yard and only a few hundred feet from the road and my house. The other bullets used go far beyond that. Due to the fact that our concerns as citizens were seen as valid by the council and the police chief, which is evidenced by his report tonight, which he states that he understands our concerns, but the shooting was allowed to continue and even increased tremendously in the time since the petition was submitted, I hope the council will shut down the range on the Grimes Road and accept one of the alternate options submitted by the police chief tonight. And just as a few other comments in regards to some of the data in the report you'll hear later on, I live at 318 Grimes Mill Road, and my address is called out on the aerial view maps in your packets and in his discussion, but the pinpointed property is not mine. That's not my property. It is actually one of my neighbor's properties instead, several hundreds of feet away from mine. My property is, as I said at the last meeting, directly in line with the range and approximately 3/4 of a mile or 4,000 feet away from the range, and it has an elevation of 424 feet, not the one that's listed there. Also, the berm height was stated as being 19 feet by the city manager at the last council meeting, and is shown as 20 feet by the police chief in his report tonight. But if you look at the USDA topographical map I have with me tonight, which I obtained earlier today, you can see it is actually much, much less than that. And at 50 feet beyond the foundation where they're shooting, which they were currently shooting when I came in today, the elevation increase is only 12 feet. And less than that anywhere else before 50 feet. Please take this into consideration. And if you have any questions for me or you'd like to look at anything I have everything with me, and I hope that you have some questions for me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are you going to stay for the...
I'll be here, yeah.
Okay.
No questions?
Anyone else would like to speak on that topic or any others?
Good evening, councilors. My name is Jessica Bell. I also live at 318 Grimes Mill Road. Knowing my husband was going to be speaking tonight, I originally had no intention of commenting. However, something that happened recently changed my mind. Last week, on an afternoon, my husband and I were bringing our girls home from school. Vehicles were present at the shooting range on the Grimes Road, and by the time we reached our driveway, gunshots were very loud and rapid. Now, usually when we pull in our garage and turn off the vehicle at the end of the school day, our girls leave us in their dust. They head to the house eager to start their own playtime. That afternoon was different. By the time I'd gathered all my possessions from the vehicle, they were still waiting for us. And when I said, "Hurry up, head on inside," my 6-year-old and 9-year-old girls told me that the shooting noise was scary, and they wanted us to walk them to the house. Now, I'm a mom, and I worry about everything. I consider that part of my job. But when my children start to worry about something that they should not have to worry about, well, that brings me here to speak with you tonight. My husband and I both grew up in this area, and we moved away for a while for college and first jobs. But when we had our first baby, we knew we wanted to move home to raise our family in a place that we loved and missed. So we moved back to Caribou, and we built our home on the Grimes Mill Road, on land that has been in my husband's family for generations. And I hope that one day my children will want to live on the same land. But I can honestly tell you this, that if the shooting range had been in its current location when we moved home, we would not have built our house where it is today. Now, the fact of the matter is that's not what happened. We built our house, and until recently have raised our family in a place where my girls have never had to worry about loud, excessive gunfire. To put it simply, we were here first. And the shooting range moved in on us without any warning, without any conversation, without any consideration for the citizens until we first brought our concerns to you. The shooting range on the Grimes Road has changed our quality of life. It is a disturbance to the sense of peace and security that my family has always known. And it was something that will continue to cause me worry until it is shut down. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is James Cushman. I live at 470 Grimes Mill Road. And even though it's not direct, it's close enough. I'm very concerned about the noise. I'm concerned about the safety aspect of it. I read on the computer today, I heard it and I remembered it. Out in Canton, Ohio in 2011, an Amish girl was killed a mile and a half from where this Amish guy had taken a muzzleloader and shot it in the air. Now, whether you have a deflected bullet or if some arm goes off in the air, those bullets will go a long ways. What they're talking about with trajectory and everything is that something headed for the target and might ricochet. But it could be an accidental gun discharge. And we live plenty close enough for that to happen. My wife was walking the road today. She takes a walk down the road past 318 and so on, and she walked down the road today and she said it was very disconcerting hearing that gunfire all the time. Now later on the report, I read the report that is going to be given later on, and you guys have an enclosure on it. They talked about the decibel level, and a car decibel level was 55 decibels, and the gunfire was, I think, 22. I know this. I'm 300 feet from the road. It's down over the hill. I cannot hear any cars on the road from inside my house. I can hear the snowplow once in a while when it comes by in the wintertime. I can hear that gunfire every time it goes off. Every single time it goes off. Inside the house. It's a different type of noise, and you can hear it. And it is kind of disconcerting. I also looked at the cost, and he said it was a cost of $2,700 and something dollars a year. For our safety and our peace of mind, I don't think that's a whole lot. I pay a lot more than that in taxes. It's really, I look at it, and they moved in, and no warning, and these are the people trying to protect us. And without any warning, all of a sudden they're shooting guns, and like I told my wife, I said, when you have bang, 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 and sometimes for hours, it's very, very disturbing. I own guns myself. I hunt. I sight in rifles, and I always do it in a place where I know nobody in the back of my farm. Nobody lives there for probably 2 or 3 miles. And I always make sure if I sight in a gun, which I haven't for years, but it's always down into a bank, and there's no way that it would harm anybody. And I think a lot of hunters do that. Now, I came by tonight, and there are lights out in the field where the farmers in the dirt for the farmers farming out back of there, and they were shooting today. Now, I don't know who was doing that, but I know that happens. So I just kind of worry about it. We had a representative these guys come around. They want to be voted into office. He came to our door and knocked on the door, and we went out to talk to him, and he heard the gunfire. He said, "What's that?" And I told him about that. And I says, if I have a complaint about noise, who do I go and complain to? Well, you go to the police. Wait a minute, they're the ones making the noise. What recourse do we have? And he said, the only recourse you have is the city council. So I urge you to take this very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any public input on any other topic? All right. We'll carry on. That is an agenda item later on here. So, any conflicts of interest from City Council regarding any of the agenda items? No? All right. Consider authorizing the minutes of the following meetings: September the 8th, 2014, special council meeting, and September the 8th, 2014, regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Martin. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Is that for the slate, both meetings? Yeah. All in favor? Unanimous. Consent agenda tonight contains the September 2014 financials, September 2014 Police Department report, September Fire Department report, November 2014 elections, board appointments, and approval of the quitclaim deeds for Cheryl and Scott Drost and Reno and Susan Marquis. Any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda items before we get a motion on the slate?
Second.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Theriault. Move the slate. All those in favor? Unanimous. Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. Manager Bruce, or is Mr. Marquis?
Mr. Marquis will present this one.
Mayor Aiken, councilors. Earlier this season, we had come over and discussed with you what we would like to do with the community pool. We've been working with a company on some design aspects of what we want to do. What we'd like to see us do for the pool area is build a splash park type of facility. The money that we need to redo the pool, what we spoke about back this spring, the $650,000 is, in my mind, a little bit more than we want to spend for an outdoor aquatic facility. The repair that was also for a bid from Lane's contract was for $70,000. That was just an asphalt layover of what we have now, which lasted approximately 20 years. We have been approached by a group that has done some fundraising in the past, and they would like to donate a significant amount of money towards the project. They would really like to see it into a splash pad facility. So what I've been doing is been getting some cost estimates and some designs. The company, well, I didn't get the numbers today. They were going to try to get them to me today, but they just haven't had a chance to get them all in for me. But we are currently writing a grant for the Land and Water Conservation Fund for $100,000. And with this grant, with the money that we've already got in the pool reserves, and with potentially the money that this nonprofit organization would donate to the city, I feel with City Manager Blease that we could possibly build a splash park in that location where the old existing community pool is. That has been shut down for about a year now. So tonight, I'd like to have the blessing of the council to let me continue writing this grant application.
Any questions from council? Gary, the only question I have, and I don't know, maybe you've done it already, do we know what the operating cost will be of this facility?
It's going to be much less than what we've currently had last year. With a splash park, you don't necessarily need lifeguards. There's no water except for what water is being splashed out.
There's not going to be any pool here at all.
No. No. We can run it relatively. There's been comments that we can, in some other areas, push a button and you can go and use it with no staff on hand. Would I feel comfortable with that? Possibly not. I wouldn't mind having at least one staff on hand just monitoring the building and the facility. We could run it longer. It doesn't need to be as warm to play in the water as when you have 450,000 gallons of water. That takes quite a while to warm up. And it just seemed like ours wasn't because of the tremendous leak that we had in our pool for the last couple of years and the reintroduction of cold water constantly. So this would be an enclosed system. It would be filtered out, and it would be the same water. It would just be it would be filtered water.
Anybody else have any questions? What are council's wishes? Applying for the grant isn't a commitment to the
No, it's not.
expense.
Can I move that we continue with this process and apply for the grant?
By Councilor Martin, second by Councilor McDonough, to move forward with the process and apply for the grant. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Next item on the agenda is a general assistance ordinance amendments. And these would just have to be introduced tonight, I believe.
Correct. We're just having the ordinance amendments introduced tonight. We would have to have the public hearing, which is scheduled for our next meeting, at what point the council could adopt it then.
Would the council like to introduce this?
Yeah, you can.
I'll introduce the following ordinance. Ordinance number 7, 2014 series, City of Caribou, County of Aroostook, Maine, an ordinance amending Chapter 17, General Assistance.
You don't have to vote on this either, so. Next item, ambulance purchase. Chief Susi speaking to this, or?
Good evening. Mayor and Council, here tonight to ask for purchase of a new ambulance for the 2015 year. Right now, we have 3 left in the fleet that have been remounted 3 times and can no longer be remounted. The ambulance that we're looking at to replace has 124 plus thousand miles on it. And it's just worn out. The ambulance itself now needs an injector job, and it's not worth the money to put into the chassis itself. We have been increasing our southern trips. In a normal year, we do anywhere from 150 to 170 trips over 60 miles. And to date, not counting the 2 today, we're at 230 for this year that we've done over 60 miles. So we have increased our ground transports. The new ambulance that we're looking at purchasing matches the other 2 the 2 newest ones that we've got in the past. It'll be a Chevy Braun chassis, G4500. So the box, it will still be just what we're carrying now. It'll be a lifetime warranty box, so we will have that option of remounting those in the future, saving money on the other end of the spectrum for us. It'll be all ready to go. The purchase price for the new ambulance would be $174,507, and that's after a $5,000 trade-in they give us for the old chassis that we have now. That would not be due until we received the new ambulance, which would be a 6-month waiting period.
Any questions for Chief Susi on the ambulance? How old is the ambulance? What year is it?
The one we have now, that one's a 2006 chassis in that one.
2006?
Yes, sir.
And how old is the box on it?
The box on it would be a 98.
This is a scheduled purchase anyway, right?
Yep. Money's in the reserve account now. After the purchase of the new ambulance, it would leave just shy of $33,000 in the ambulance account.
Any other questions? Chief Susan? What are council's wishes?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Murchison to approve the purchase of the new ambulance. All those in favor? Approved and unanimous.
Thank you.
You're going to stay standing right there?
I am.
All right. Ambulance contracts. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Tonight before you are the ambulance contracts that we send out every year to our communities that we contract ambulance service for. Last year we did a flat funding with all the services, or all the communities that contract with us. This year we did a 25-cent increase on a per capita basis for all those communities that are listed on those contracts. I think there was a sample contract that went out in the packet. Each community that we service gets one of those individually once approved by council here this evening.
Any question on ambulance contracts from anyone?
Move to accept. Second.
Moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor McDonough to accept the proposed ambulance contracts for the communities involved. All those in favor? Unanimous. And while you're standing there, Chief Susi, talk about fire contracts.
Mayor and council members, before you tonight are the fire contracts for the communities that we cover under fire protection. The fire calculation has plagued me this is my third year. I've reached around, I've called around the state. We have one of the better methods for calculating fire protection that I can see for the areas that we do cover. This year we did a standard 3% increase, kind of corresponding to everything that's going on around us. And we'd like to have the council pass that 3% increase to those communities that we cover for fire protection for the 2015 year.
So moved. Second. Sorry. Go ahead. Any questions or comments? Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Martin. Any questions, comments? Okay. All in favor? Unanimous? You may sit down, Mr. Susi. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is pellet bids. Manager, please.
We've gone off a bid for the wood pellets. We sent bid for companies throughout Maine and New Hampshire. We're bidding based upon the specs that are listed in the boiler manual. There are no pellet manufacturers in Maine that produce pellets to that spec. The closest place in New England that produces pellets to that spec declined to bid, citing the high cost of transportation. So the only bid we received is from Dago Oil Company for a price of $223 per ton delivered in bulk. They can meet most of the specs but cannot guarantee the no more than 2% fines with the deliveries. As council's well aware, with all the problems that we've had with these boilers, Train points the finger at the fine content in the pellets. In talking with other boiler manufacturers, we strongly believe that that's not the case, that it's not the fines that are the issue. But we will need council approval on this bid.
I do have a question. Since Train guaranteed savings to us based on the cost of pellets compared to based on the cost of fuel oil, why don't you suggest to Train that we're going to transport these pellets up here from wherever this location is, and they're going to have to pay the difference in cost that we don't save, that we're supposed to save?
The company is not interested in delivering pellets up to here.
We'll send Dago Oil to get them. They'll deliver them if the price is right. And I don't care if the price is $3,000 a ton. We have a guaranteed contract, don't we?
We do have energy savings guarantees.
Councilor McDonough.
Refresh my memory. Have we ever tried the right pellets for the boiler?
We can't get the right pellets for the boiler.
We live in the wrong country.
The boilers were made for European pellets.
That's my... Can't get them, period. No way.
The only company in New England that makes them to that spec has told us they will not deliver them here. Unless we wanted to get 40-pound bags.
Gonna have to.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because if you try them and it doesn't work, then you certainly have something to pin on Train for. I mean, there's got to be a price that they'll deliver pellets, even a small load. I just throw that out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've worked that angle.
We've tried several times.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're currently working with our contractors to improve our situation as far as running the boilers.
We're working with the contractors. We're working the legal aspect of it as well.
So going with an auger feed instead of a vacuum feed?
Correct. We're trying a modification that Train's recommending, and based upon the results of how that works, the next step would be an auger system.
Is there any time frames on any of this stuff?
The current modification is supposed to be installed this week. We'll have that run for 3 weeks or so, and then we have a conference call scheduled to Train late October to discuss the results and the next step.
Austin, did they tell you when they put these boilers in that you had to use these European... Were you told that? Did you know that they were a special pellet to go in?
No, he wasn't here.
No, that's right. You weren't here. But was anybody told when they were putting? Do you know if
Crane claims that they were told that the pellets made locally met that spec.
Wow.
But weren't they the ones responsible? When they came in with the sales pitch, they said, part of the sales pitch is where's the supply? So they should have checked that out, correct?
Correct.
That's part of our court.
Correct.
Okay.
Anyway, for now, I guess we've got a bid that we have to deal with, so.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we getting the pellets from the same supplier as last year?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If we wanted to reject the bid, we could go on a more as-needed basis, if the pellet quality is the big concern. Last year, I don't...
You have a recommendation on that, whether we should?
Judging by how infrequently the boilers run, I don't believe we're going to need the full amount of pellets that we're told we will.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is that you're not going to get spec pellets in the area, and we need to buy pellets in the area, so you're going to have to do something with that system, or train will. So it makes sense to me, in my mind, to purchase these pellets, because eventually you're going to have to get the system to be able to use them.
The only problem is, are we making a contract for a specified amount?
We'd be locked in with the specified
I
amount.
don't think we want to do that. Because if it isn't working, and if last year's any, we're going to own a lot of pellets. Do we have pellets now from last year even?
We have some in all of the hoppers still.
We contracted for them?
How many ton did we get last year, do you recall?
I don't recall right offhand.
The only downside is if they went up in price.
Right.
I mean, $223 a ton. I'm not so sure they're going to go up in price much.
And we always have that energy savings guarantee.
Oil gets any cheaper, we may want to go back to oil anyway.
We've been burning a fair amount of oil in the last year already, so.
Well, I like Councilman Google's thought that if we say it's not the fines, and we somehow get a load of these European-born whatever, then we can prove our point, right?
We've tried.
Well, the farmer I worked for, no, but the farmer I worked for was right to Ashland with a little potato truck, about body, fills it up with pellets, brings it over, loads it into the hopper. I mean, we should be able to find somebody to bring us.
When you loaded them through the potato truck with a hopper, you might just make some fines.
I don't know. I'm just saying it should be possible to get a load up here to try.
I agree. I think it would be good if we could get some to try.
I don't care. Agree.
Yeah.
But the company that produces them won't deliver them to us.
So if you send a truck down and pick them up? Look, let's go down and pick them up.
Oh, I mean, if the council wants to hire...
How big is the smallest hopper? They're all the same size,
We
right?
have a 9-ton silo.
Okay, so how many tons do you think you'd need to get an idea?
I think one silo, 9 tons would...
So why don't you buy 9 tons on pallets and dump them in here? We'll have a day. Seriously, then we can tell train, or they can tell us. So we don't have to
a transportation company to pick them up.
If we wanted to get 9 tons of pellets and haul them up to the top of the silo and dump each bag inside, we could certainly do that.
The fire truck, the
But
ladder.
if it works the way they say it's going to work, we're out the effort and we're out the money. Well, at least we'd know.
If that's the direction
Or do
council wants to
you
go.
not want to know?
It would be nice to know whether or not these boilers work.
Okay.
Since I brought it up, I'd be more than happy to help you figure that out. Thank you, sir. Because I see that as a problem.
I'd be happy to sit and watch you guys lug them 30-pound bags up that ladder to the top of the silo. You should get a big boiler. I mean, it's not rocket. Because nobody out there to get a boat foot. Saying.
Does anyone else have one of those pellet trucks that blow pellets in?
I believe Doc is the only one in the area.
There's one down in the southern part of the state that does that.
Right.
Do you these specifications, or these bids all came from within the continental United States. Is there any facilities within a 100-mile radius that manufactures pellets that might come close to the specifications?
None that have been identified.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, the immediate thing is, do we want to contract the pellets, or do we want to stay on the open market, I guess, is that
The open market seems like it'd be the way to go. If the council wants us to have 10 tons of pellets shipped up in 40-pound bags,
I didn't say that, just for the record.
So the price of $223 per ton, how many tons are we fixed for at that rate?
I believe we're calculated to use 263 tons a year between all 4 buildings.
that's if they all would it.
The problem I had is I paid $199 a ton in bags. Now, it should be cheaper to do it bulk than in bags.
You would think, wouldn't you?
But since you're the only company, your pellets meet these specifications?
Just say pellets.
These come from Ashland?
Correct.
And pellets.
Are we going to continue to get them from Ashland?
Until we have another supplier that would be willing to provide them to us.
Have you checked Canada?
We have checked Canada. Last year, they were booked out. We couldn't get any from them. This year, there was no response.
You better wear your coat.
What are council's wishes?
I move to reject the bid.
I'll second that.
Moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor McDougall to reject the bid on the pellets. All those in favor? Unanimous. And maybe when Councilor McDougall and Councilor Manager Bruce can get a couple of half tons and make a trip down the river. And build a pump system when they come back. All right, shooting range report. Manager Bruce.
The report from the police chief is in front of the council tonight. He's not here to go over that. Some of the information in there, the city has no other property or pits that could be utilized to do the shooting range. To travel elsewhere in the county would cost thousands of dollars extra in our budget, which is already stretched thin. We'd have to pay a range fee per officer and an additional 4 hours of overtime. Estimate of $2,738 would have to be added to the training budget. We have contracts with the Border Patrol and Customs that generate about $3,000 in revenue. He could not provide information regarding who is using the range, time of use, or what weapons are being used because of the contracts that we have. This is a safety issue for our officers who would violate the contracts we do have. Our officers are authorized to utilize the range at reasonable times. It's always completed by 8 p.m. If an officer is there shooting off duty, they've been instructed to notify dispatch. And the training officer is required there when the department is training. Backstop behind the targets is 20 feet high. Beyond the backstop, the land goes up hail to a height of 62 feet and 42 higher than the residents of the Grimes Mill Road. There are trees and everything above and beyond that as well. They did some noise testing. Those results are listed here as well. We've talked with DEP. They have no environmental issues by the shooting range. The chief has also attached reports about ricocheting bullets, which are included in the packets. And the chief certainly understands there's concern about the location of the range, but we're trying to go above and beyond to ensure that it is safe. The farmer directly behind the berm had been contacted and has no problems with the activities going on there. Be aware hunting is also allowed on the farmland, which is much closer to the residents of the Grimes Mill Road than our range would be. And if you have any questions, the chief is always available to talk with the councilors.
How often do they have to qualify?
Annually.
Once a year. And we have 12 policemen.
The sergeants and the chief also need to qualify, so it'll be 15 people.
And your reserve officers.
And the reserve officers, correct.
So how many people?
20 to 25, depending upon the reserve officer list.
And we have customs and immigration as well.
But we don't have to have customs and immigration. So what's involved in qualifying? It sounds like they're doing a whole lot of shooting just to shoot. Is that the case?
You need to shoot a certain amount of rounds to qualify.
Right.
I don't know what the specifics are, but for each piece, it's X number of rounds have to be shot.
I'm sure it's more than qualifying. I mean, I'm sure there's officers that want to go out and practice as well. At times.
When's the last time a Caribou policeman fired as a weapon? I'm not talking state police now. I'm talking
Shooting range this week, I think.
Well, but seriously. Yeah, but you want him to be able to hit his target, you want them to be proficient so that the potential of injuring innocent bystanders is lessened, all right? Okay, so I minimize the number of times it's the state law that mandates they have to do it at least once a year. And I think they have to go through either 100 or 200 rounds, and they have to follow certain sequences, X number for 3 shots. And I'm just guessing, I don't know the real specifics, okay? And then full clips, certain body positions, and so on and so forth, and certain distances. Can I ask? And as a summary.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Becker, I'll ask Jamie a question. Yeah. Jamie, did you figure out, let's say we put up telephone poles and big planks 4 inches thick on top of the berm, how high would it have to be so that the bullet, they'd almost have, how high would it have to be?
I haven't done anything with that, so
But I can see when you say it, the berm is this high here, and the hill is over there, and if you're going to overshoot here, you're going to go over the hill anyway, because it's going to be at the peak of its height over the hill, but how high would it have to be at the berm? How high would we have to raise that berm? Well, let me know this issue for now.
I don't have that data. For my safety, I just want them gone.
No, I don't have it is a problem too. Well, if we added 10 feet to the berm,
You'd still have all the noise complaints that everyone else brought up.
but what's the whole question at a time?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but can the noise be reduced? I don't know.
I do agree with the comment that I think it was Mr. Cushman made. I mean, you wouldn't, regardless of what the decibels are, you don't hear a car going by, but, a gunshot, you hear it for a long ways. And I don't know if it's because of the different type of noise or what it is, but, if you tried to measure the noise of a car in your house, you wouldn't get any measurement probably, but you probably would get the gunshot noise, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I live on River Road. I've been hearing it all day today. And it really seems like it's increased. The days have increased. It's been doing it more. I don't know if I'm more conscious of it now because of this or what, but I can hear it inside my house with the windows closed. And my sister, in fact, was working at home, and she lives down the road from me, and she just emailed me, and she said, here we go again. I know that they've got to have some place, but can you maybe make it during daytime hours when they're at work or something, and then when the kids come home, or, I don't know, something when, to ease the noise level a little bit, because I can hear it very plainly where I am.
We can look at that if that's the council directive.
Councilor Richardson.
I look at the first page of the chief's report, and I was surprised to see that the city has no other property or gravel pit, because I really did think that we had a played-out pit on like the Madawaska Road or the Westgate Road that belonged to the city. My thoughts are if you had a gravel pit with high sides all the way around, that you could eliminate not all the sound, but at least less possibility of a stray shot at 30 degrees traveling a mile and wiping, someone out. The other thing I was surprised to see is that we're generating a little bit of revenue here. Now, we're leasing from CUD this land.
Correct.
And then we're getting some revenue from renting to these other agencies?
Right, you can do range improvements, safety, and that type of thing.
So we don't have that pit, then I'm remembering it wrong, probably.
Not according to the memo.
And that is, I mean, I guess if we just did it and did it with our police officers, it would be less. But Customs and Immigration, they're going to have to do it somewhere. Because they have to qualify too. It's the same thing, is it not?
Where did they do it before? I do not know.
The other question I have is, was this didn't used to conduct this here, was this a temporary solution, or is it kind of evolved into a permanent solution?
It's evolved into a permanent solution. It used to happen behind the Legion, and then when the connector was built, the Legion had...
VFW?
Or sorry, the VFW.
Did you ever have any complaints there?
No. The reason why we had to move it was because the insurance carrier for them would not allow it.
Was it in a gravel pit? I mean, I understand the chief's point, I understand the public's point. I'm sure it can be made safe, but, hey, I mean, if they can hear it on the river.
Inside with windows closed.
I mean, there's a gravel pit up the road from here, probably about a 3/4 of a mile as the crow flies, and they're shooting in there all the time. I mean, not all the time, but it's usually around just before dark with their AR-15s or whatever. And, you know, I have to be careful. I mean, I don't make a big deal about it, but I can see if that's going on 12 hours a day.
Certainly.
It's still 50 feet, right?
For the handguns, yep.
What about the rifles?
I believe that increases to 100 for a maximum range.
Just too bad we couldn't do that indoors somewhere.
100 feet? Feet, not yards.
Yards.
Okay.
Oh, yards.
Yards.
Yeah, no, there's no
Makes sense it's in yards.
Yards.
So you're at 223 at 100 yards.
Right,
It's good,
sorry.
again, at 300 or something like that.
Yeah, but where do they have to stand?
I use minimized targets to simulate the distance.
Because there are no 100 yards there between.
Councilman McDonough, do you know what it takes to place a firing range in our code book? Do we have any code? We don't have. There's been a problem downstate that you read about in the paper. In the instance I'm thinking about, the fire range was there first, and the housing development moved in, and now they're looking at having to move the firing range.
That's in Cape Elizabeth.
Yep.
And,
You're right.
back in the days at the inception of the shooting range there was nothing around that particular area. And it almost sounds to me like the firing range doesn't want to make improvements to enhance safety and provide a buffer to deaden the noise. And they had a similar situation in Falmouth. Same thing, that one of the using organizations condemned 3 out of their 4 shooting ranges, and they had to bring them all in compliance. And I'm sure that there's probably some people that don't get along, but for the most part, that situation there is quieted down and people are getting along. You know, I guess it's a matter of need, okay? But it's also trying to accommodate everybody's needs.
Correct.
I mean, we have a requirement by law that allow people to be qualified, that they can handle their weapons safely and stuff like that, and we have people that are concerned about safety and the process of doing that.
Where's the closest certified range? Is it the Fort Fairfield Rod and Glide Club?
I think there's 3 in Aroostook County, and it's Fort Fairfield, Presque Isle, and there's one other one, I can't remember it off the top of my head. And those are all privately owned. And apparently the privately owned didn't want to allow the use of the things from public officials.
That was my next question.
Right, we'd have to pay the fees to send the officers there.
So,
And the fees would be that around 2,700, is that a year?
Correct.
For the police, for what we need, for what the city needs?
Right.
Do we know what the county does? The sheriffs?
I don't know.
Oh, they don't use that one? They don't use that range, the sheriff department?
I don't know, I was
I think they
asking.
share the state police and
Is that what they do?
I think so. The state police use up behind the airport in Holton, up where the log company is. There used to be a range up there.
Okay.
And the sheriffs might use that with the state police.
I think that the Customs and Border Patrol used to go there, and for some reason, they're no longer going there,
And
okay?
that
I don't know. Those are those things that you hear but aren't qualified.
Yeah, and I don't know either. They used to have one there. The guard used to. That was the range you used to go to down in Holton, was up behind the log area.
Well, there's one right down by the airport. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, in Holton.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the one. The guard. We used to use that as a range, but I don't know what transport.
The one that was up in Fort Kent is no longer even listed in the, so there's those three, and they're all privately owned, basically. And, you know, and for instance, the National Guard, they go to 2 weeks training every summer, so they get their training there, so they don't even use the one out to the base anymore. And the one out to the base is landlocked, okay?
Yeah, they closed it down.
Yep.
Where would they go for this price? This 27, where would they go?
I'm not sure if that would be in Presque Isle or Fort Fairfield.
So you don't really even have a place for sure yet. Do you know that they could go to either one of those places?
For the fees that, whichever gun club.
They would.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But those are the fees, 27. To go to that, all the officers to go to that club would be...
That's for all of them.
2,700.
And does that include the travel costs and everything else?
Does not include travel costs.
Doesn't include wages.
Doesn't include the wages?
But you have wages in going out here, right?
Correct, but somebody can go out while they're on duty and shoot while they're on duty. So you wouldn't be paying them extra or overtime to shoot.
What's the difference of going over to Fort to do the same thing?
You can't be on call. Somebody calls. If you're at the Wells Railroad,
Somebody else in Caribou.
Yeah.
That's okay.
yeah, he's on duty, he can respond to a call. But there's also the point that everybody needs to get a license for whatever trade they have, and this, a lot of times, they have to do it in their own time. Why do we have to, I can see paying their membership, but why do they have to train on our time?
State law requires that they be certified.
Yeah. I had to be certified to teach. They didn't pay my way through college.
They paid your credits for continuing education.
Partially.
Is that in the contract?
We provide the training for the officers. It's no different than sending them to the academy for the 12-week course or the special courses that they might
Because
need.
it's always been done one way, doesn't it? That's the only way things can get done.
Well, it's no different than training a fireman. It just so happens that, I mean, they have to go for training. They have to get certified. Just doesn't make any noise. Per se.
Good. It's really good.
And we pay for that.
Is everybody certified for this year?
I believe everybody is certified for this year.
So we could close that for the rest of the year?
Depending upon the needs of the contracts that we have, which I don't know for sure. If the council wanted to revoke the contracts, then we likely could.
What's the minimum, what's their hours, the minimum amount of time or whatever they have to go on the shooting range to use that?
Well, they have to qualify. The first time you don't qualify, they're going to have to go back again.
But they don't have certain amount of hours to practice or certain amount of...
It's a number of shots, not a number of hours.
Okay. But are they overdoing it a little bit, or somebody?
There might be additional training, additional shooting, practice shooting to stay fresh, above and beyond the certification
So
requirement.
if the city paid for the certification, and then if they wanted to go shoot over in Fort Fairfield above and beyond that, they pay their own, their own way or whatever. Might be enough,
I just don't understand that if it was by the regional, the VFW always used, and there are homes there,
And it was outside?
and it was outside, and there were no complaints, the only thing I can figure out is they weren't shooting maybe 10% of what they're doing today.
They're shooting the same.
And the police department used this range last year as well. I think the big difference is the additional contracts that we have with the other agencies.
Did we have those over behind the VFW?
No.
And maybe that's the answer.
And I'll put this out here. I'm all in favor of revenues. I know that, we're always trying to find somewhere to get revenues, but, given that amount, $3,000, it just seems rather small for what's going on. The noise implications and all the concerns that are being presented tonight. I don't want that to be the only factor, but I don't see that equation, I guess.
I think if we raise that berm and only had Caribou police there and nobody else, and at a minimum, and if they want to shoot some more, go to a gun club, maybe that would be a compromise that these people could live with.
We'd have to look at the cost of raising the berm and how high.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it may cost you more than what,
When you're shooting from a raised position on concrete, that's just going to be like an amplifier. That crack's going to travel for miles.
No, ricochets don't go far.
Well, again, for a couple $1,000s to send these people to a gun club, what's the budget for the police? Annual budget, roughly?
Couple $100,000. I mean, several $100,000.
I don't know, over $1 million.
This isn't the total cost associated with doing that, though.
And I think I'd like to know what that is.
Fees and the overtime. It would depend upon which range that was selected. Well, we have to try. And I wish the chief was here to answer some of these questions. He'd be a little more able to answer than I would be.
Well, let's find out, and maybe that is the easiest solution, then we just do that. But let's find out what it is, and
Mr. Sewer or something like that.
yes.
I was looking over the budget the other day, and I looked at the police training budget, and for this calendar year, they're projected for year-to-date, and the amount that they had budgeted for the year, they're actually under that by about $2,700. Just as something to...
Yeah, but I want to know what the other costs involved. I think that's just for
Training.
the membership to the thing. What's it going to cost us for overtime and transportation? And, are we looking at $10,000 or are we looking at $3,000? I don't know.
I think we should look also that they train on their time.
I also have a map today that I brought, that berm in behind is only 12 feet, and that's not at that 45-degree angle that they're supposed to have for a berm in behind at gun ranges. And the minimum is 15 feet, and they were claiming 20 for this one. So,
Yeah.
and I have that here. I'm not sure where they got their data, and that is something you can ask the city manager. Publicly available data off of Google Earth is how we came up with the elevations.
What 45, what are we talking about 45 degrees? The burn away from the fire?
No, the burn in behind is supposed to be at a minimum of a 1-to-1 ratio. That's
The slope.
the slope of the burn that they're shooting into is supposed to be a minimum 1-to-1 ratio, and 15 feet in height, and they recommend 20 or more. And it's nowhere near the 1-to-1. I haven't been in, but you're more than welcome to verify that. But like I said today, found out it's only 12 feet, and I had been told 19 and 20 feet, and that to me is very disturbing to and I believe it's probably satellite image data on Google Earth, and this is topographical data at the actual Earth level from the USDA. So
That data's about the same. There's not a whole lot of difference between that data.
I have the map here if you'd like to look at it.
12 feet.
What's that?
You guys only 12 feet for the burn, based on that data.
But it wouldn't be all that expensive to get a bulldozer in there and raise that berm. I mean, that's the first thing that needs to be done properly, if we're going to use that spot.
Mary, I just looked at the budget, and it's about 1.2 million, a little over that for the police department, and the training is 20,500.
That training figure includes the cost.
Yeah, training and education. Proposed budget 20,500.
Right. A substantial portion of that is sending somebody to the academy.
Okay.
I guess it's not done yet, then, is it?
No, I don't think we're going to finish tonight, but it sounds like this is all that we should address the safety concerns at the very least at this location. And I would really like to explore other locations if we could, given that there are so many concerns in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I just, but I think it is true, and someone mentioned it, not in my backyard. It doesn't matter where you put the location. You're going to have someone that doesn't like it, so.
And if it's in Fort Fairfield,
yeah, if it's in Fort Fairfield, great.
There's a lady that wants to have the conversation.
Yes.
Now, there was complaints that anybody was going in there and shooting because it wasn't blocked off. Now, what they've done is they put a chain across there, which anybody can go around over or under, park right there, and still go in and use it. The only thing different is the chain and the no trespassing sign. Now, if you're not right there to see who's shooting, or they're there with their own private cars, there's no way to know whether they're police officers or whether they're just shooting. So that's also a safety concern. Are they just out there just shooting randomly? Or, I mean, you're talking about the police using it, but there's nothing actually there to stop somebody else from using it any other time.
No, but again,
Poles in the yard, and they strung a couple chains across. And
I understand, but as Mr. Cushman said, he used to go out to sight his guns in and everything else out back, and, he obviously took the time to make sure there wasn't any danger, but anybody that wants to go out and shoot in hunting season, I mean, they can go out in the bush and just fire at that tree over there, not knowing what's behind it or anything else, so.
But I mean, this is visible from the road with targets that are just there just for, itching to be shot at. They're facing the road. I mean, they're not even, there's nothing there to even block anybody's view that there's access to this place.
I spoke to the chief last week, and the long-term plan, well, I don't know how long, but the city bought some fencing for the Bird's Eye place, and he's wanting to use that fencing once Bird's Eye's cleaned up to do the, I mean, there are plans to upgrade and make it better and so forth, but is it worth the hassle? I don't know.
I really think in the long run, you're going to spend more money in the long run fixing it up than just sending them to somewhere else. But I don't know that. I really think that there probably needs to be some more investigation in that. Is that fair to say?
We can have the department check into that.
Can we close it for the season?
If the council wants to get out of the contracts.
Well, why don't you ask if they'd be willing to get out of the contract?
We can ask if they're willing to get out of the contract.
Or if there's any repercussions if we get.
When are they renewed?
In the springtime, I believe, is when.
I'm wondering why they don't shoot at their own range in their new gold-plated facility over there. I know they do it because they have the young, I don't know what they call them, but they're like scouts for the Border Patrol. I know they're shooting semi-automatic weapons.
They're explorers.
Is that the term? Good kids, good outfit, but I'm pretty sure they've got a firing range over there. Is it Limestone? They have a facility, Fort Fairfield. Anyway, more investigation, I think. one of my concerns also is visibility from the road. We live in an area where people like to shoot. You know, you can step out of your car and shoot from there, if you can see them from the road.
Somebody could be driving by and hit a bullet, you know?
All right, so what are council's wishes? It sounds like you want to table this, or what do you want to do here?
We didn't call for any actual action.
And
this
that was
evening.
just a report.
I have one other question. DEP, you said you contacted DEP. Did they specifically address noise? Because I know DEP at some level does.
I don't know the full conversations between the Archer and the police chief.
Okay.
I know it was the environmental issues, that's what's in the memo here, but I don't know if the
Yeah.
other issues were discussed.
Do you know what you're bringing for revenues off the top of your head from the other agencies?
It's about $1,500 a year.
Do you know what you pay for insurance on that place?
I don't know if that is broken out individually for that location. The insurance line for the police department is in the budget, but I don't know if that site-specific is broken out.
Have we spoken to COD to see if they have their concerns?
I have to ask one other question that I think should be of some interest here. If we upgraded the range, let's say we did put chain link fence around it and lock gates that no one else could get in to use it. We did as Mr. Martin suggested with raising the berm and everything else. Is it still going to be a problem for the residents out there?
At least for me. Still hear the noise. I mean, the noise is very annoying. I had the representative, one of the representatives came by and he heard that, and he couldn't believe how loud it was. And if they hear it on the river road, can you imagine if we're in direct line of how we hear it?
I follow up a question with that. What if it was just Caribou Police?
If it was just Caribou Police and it was safe, but...
Which is what he's talking about, being
I'm
safe.
trying, I looked online to try to find out how you get safe, and it's very murky as to the safety of these places. And, but you go through a city and they have these things to keep the noise down alongside the interstates.
Yep.
And for, I'm looking at it, if you made that facility the way you're talking about, when you're talking about $2,700 a year, 2,734 is what I read.
Well, it's not 2,734. It would be more than that. That's just, I think, the fees to join the range.
That's right.
The way it stands today, we have to pay these fellas when they go and do it, if they're going to go and do it over there, because they can't do it while they're on duty. They're going to have to do overtime to go and do it. They're going to have to pay their expenses, their mileage, and everything else. So we really don't know what the cost would be if we went to a range yet.
Well, when I read in the report, it said a savings of $2,734. So I'm assuming that's everything. I was assuming that's what the city saved by having this range. And to me, my taxes are a lot more than that. And that's one farm, one place,
Yep.
the whole city. And that could, and they're talking about the budget of the police department is what, 1.1 million?
About 1.2.
1.2 million, and we're talking $2,700.
And how often would they have to actually go and practice? If you were paying their overtime and their mileage, you could limit how much of that they could do on the city side.
No, I agree. I agree. Yes.
I made an inquiry of a local fish and game. It's $35 a year for membership, and that includes the meal. So
That's
Fort Prescott facility?
it was in the local area, yes. I'm not sure what Fort is doing now, because they've had situations here also with overzealous individuals.
All right. Any other discussion? Councilman?
Get some of these discrepancies in dimensions and heights and widths and everything dispelled, please.
And the cost of going to Fort or Prescott?
Yep.
I didn't think there was one in Prescott.
There is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they just fixed up the range too, I read that.
We'll get the full cost for what it would cost to go down to Fort and Presque Isle.
And can we...
This guy is not indoors, though, is it?
Is Fort 50? Nope.
It's called meeting the problem, maybe.
And can we suspend firing until that berm is the height it's supposed to be?
There's clearly discrepancies as to how high the berm is. I don't know what council...
We'll have to inspect it on site because the USGS and the USDA, they use 20-foot contours. It might be somewhere in the middle.
Transit?
So it's going to be, you got to go on site and inspect it.
It's on my map at 2 feet.
Okay, good.
We'll get that taken care of.
Public Works will follow transit.
What are council's wishes?
I would like to see firing suspended until that berm is regulation height. And then we bring this back next meeting and discuss, get all the facts in and the cost.
Okay, I mean, regulation height.
But tell me, what's the berm supposed to be, minimum?
Just in looking online at places like NSSF and NRA, they recommend 15 feet at a 1-to-1 ratio. Well, no, that's the minimum. They recommend 20 to 25 feet at a 1-to-1 ratio, and that needs to be clean gravel, and it also needs to stay in place. So, I mean, to get a 45-degree angle to stay in place, that may be a real challenge. But that's what I've read online, and you're more than welcome to verify that. But that's what I found. I don't think the berm's going to go anyplace. It's been there for quite a while.
No, I know. I mean, you can add dirt, or you can add...
Yeah. If the council wants to set a number of 20 feet or whatever for the height of a berm, that's what we can go, but we just...
That isn't going to solve, I think the real problem is the noise, to tell you the truth. Based on what I'm hearing, because if we did everything that made it safe and everything else, I saw a bunch of hands go up back there that said they're still not going to be happy. So
I'm really happy that there's 1,000 more cars a day that come by my road since they built that cemetery, but hey, that's fine.
Not the noise of the bell going off every hour?
And the bells, yes.
my opinion is, I don't want to be spending a bunch of money if we're going to end up that we're going to do away with this. That wouldn't make a lot of sense either. We're going to do all of this stuff, and it's still going to be a problem, and then we decide, well, no, we're going to go the other route. I would like us to find out what the real cost is of moving to Presque Isle or to Fort Fairfield, and if it looks like that is something that we can do,
Approved gun range.
yeah, to an approved gun range. And if that's something we can do, I mean, by the time you start getting bulldozers and moving earth and putting up telephone poles, and you can pay for a lot of memberships and a lot of travel and so on. So I would suggest that we get the actual figures, and then we'll be able to make an intelligent decision on this thing.
But if the berm is 12 feet high, technically it's not safe. So we shouldn't be using it until we determine the height of the berm.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with determining the height of it, but I don't want to increase it to 20 feet right now.
No, but I think he's talking about suspending, right? Suspending use.
Everybody's qualified that works for the city.
I believe so.
What if they aren't? What about the new fellow that just started?
No.
Is he qualified?
It's probably qualified from Academy.
I believe
Started
so.
last year, January, so.
He would have gotten qualified there.
Just asking before council passes something here that all of a sudden we got an offer that's not qualified and we can't, basically we can't use them.
Oh, we can, we just have to pay for him to go somewhere else. Right?
I agree, until the safety aspects are addressed, we should discontinue using the range.
So we're going
Have that as a motion?
does that include discontinuing the contracts then as well? It will have to. Correct?
Correct.
So we have a motion to discontinue the range and the existing contracts we have with other agencies.
And can I add explore the use? I think that's what we
Yeah,
explore the issue of membership in a qualified range.
All right, have you got all
There's a
that?
motion to suspend use.
So we can address the safety concerns that have been brought forward.
Can we specify the base safety concerns? Because I think there might be some...
There was a long list. Mr. Bello, you have your list? There was
Refer to the
there was the angle of the berm. There was a lengthy list, actually.
The petition would have those on there, and if you want specifics, I mean, the berm height is definitely not the 20 feet based on my data. I'd be more than happy to sit down and go over all of that with city manager or whoever else. But
Councilor McGee was going to figure out the height of the berm.
that'd be great.
I didn't think we had to vote on this tonight. We have to vote on
Well,
this?
it begs the question, who's qualified to, where's the standard? I mean, yeah, NRA has stuff.
What's the state law say about firing ranges?
The state law,
Nobody seems to want to bring that into the conversation.
state law doesn't have any real standards.
So I think we need to find a nationally accepted standard for a firing range. I think if we're going to go through this exercise.
I would think the NRA would be at minimum.
But when we're going to accept them, we can always
It's a
do
safety
it.
concern.
So we don't come in and next week, he's got a different set of standards and we're operating off the same standard. We all want to operate off of one set of standards.
I'm concerned about this.
I want to make sure that if we're going to suspend use until safety standards are met, which set of safety standards are we going to use? Is it the berm height? Is it
I didn't say
everything
standards,
else?
I'd say concerns. Well, the standards haven't been set. Who said it would use? But we do have concerns that have been brought forward.
So the concerns listed in the petition presented last month.
Don't you prefer to go to work to ask, to talk to them first? Did you prefer to go the route you're going to talk to the other contract? Can you just do this without talking to them, or?
We'd have to, I'm assuming we'd have to refund the money paid for this year if we were to cancel the contract.
I think we would be sensitive to our plight.
As long as you get
We're in the people business as well.
as long as you refunded them the money, you certainly would.
But I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and working towards the same thing.
I'll make a motion.
I don't need a motion.
You did?
It wasn't seconded.
No, it hasn't been seconded, so,
Well, I think you need to just,
well, just hang on. If there's not a seconder, it dies, so is there a seconder for Ken's motion?
what's Ken's motion?
I need a motion that we suspend the use of the current range until safety concerns are met, and that we explore placement in a certified gun range in the area.
And what are those safety
Related
concerns?
contracts.
The safety concerns are the concerns brought forward, because we haven't set any standards. It's not even in our code book.
But the concerns brought forward are not all safety concerns.
Right.
I mean, some of them are, we just don't want it there, and we don't like the noise, and it's close to the road where everybody can see it, and stuff like that. I think the number one thing is to make sure the height of that berm is, at
100 yards from that berm, if you shoot a 30-degree angle, you go a mile.
right. So how high does the berm have to be so that it doesn't happen?
It would have to be 100 feet high. 100 yards?
No.
I think that's why I brought up the subject of the standard, all right? We're not qualified, any of us, I don't think, to sit here and...
Well, that's why I asked that question
So
about your
you pick a standard and you go by the standard, and if the concerns are addressed in the standard, then you meet them.
And I'll second that.
I said address the concerns, I didn't say fix them. You know what I mean? I can't fix more.
I'm really running for re-election.
No. I'm running away from the election.
Can we hear what Shane wants?
What was your motion, Bill?
Well, actually, if the motion died, we can go ahead and make a motion. But no one seconded my motion, so...
Nobody second the motion dies.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we suspend operations until we determine that the gun range is per NRA recommended guidelines for a gun range, and that and determine the outcome of the contracts we already have in place.
Second.
That meant the intent of yours, correct?
No, I was going to go look for the other clubs as well, whether or not we should join.
Well,
I know
we can do that.
That could be research, yeah.
That can be done. All right, so we have a motion by Councilor McDougall, seconded by Councilor Terrio.
To suspend the use of the range until it's per NRA recommended standards and determine the outcome of our contracts. Is that correct?
And investigating the additional gun ranges, using what those costs are.
Any more questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed, Councilor McDonough. Passed. All right. Boy, that took a long time. Other business. Well, one other business here I've got a plaque sitting in front of me here. 2014 MMA Annual Municipal Report Competition. And this award of Supreme, which I understand is first, but I have to mention, the only time I've ever heard Supreme mentioned was
Pizza Hut.
I was flipping through the TV one time, and it was something about some kids' beauty contest or something, and there was some award for Supreme or something, so I don't know where the MMA picked up on Supreme, but anyway, this was made to the city of Caribou, and it's in recognition of our municipal annual report being the best one submitted throughout the whole state for the population group of, was it 5 to 9,000? 9,999?
Correct.
Yeah. Of municipalities between 5,000 and 9,999 residents. So, awesome. I guess I'll give this to you, and you can put this up in your office or
add it to the
or wherever you'd like.
Like you say, we should put it in Denise's office,
Yeah.
because she has her hands on that report.
Does anyone else have any other business for tonight?
Presque Isles are that size group also.
All right, there's a number of meetings scheduled here. Budget workshop on Thursday night this week, next Monday, and then budget workshop on Wednesday, October the 22nd, and city council meeting on October the 27th. Anything else? I get a motion for adjournment here. So moved. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming. Buttons.
we could borrow their machine.